He would just be a farmer, but then the apocalypse happened. Even the farmer got superpowers and a system. While a normal garden grows food, his grows a full defense system. His strongest weapon is not magic or swordsmanship, but a carrot in berserk mode. Can the most peaceful job become humanity's last line of defense? Let's find out. The story began with the fact that people can survive without food for about 7 days. If there is no water either, then the period is shortened to 72 hours. At very low temperatures, the heart can only beat for 3 minutes, but when the sun goes out, phytotoxicity occurs. Animals mutate. What will people do? Resources, survival, spores, all this seemed predictable. The radio reported that recently in City Z, there were cases of animal attacks on people. Let the citizens, please, refrain from going outside at night. Breaking news, as reported by the media, in City X, several people were infected with an unknown infection. Cases of influenza have become more frequent. Brothers and sisters, will they be able to survive this apocalypse? After some time, Lee Tianran, the main character, was looking for food in the store. The loudspeaker broadcast the news that all the necessary services were already investigating the incident to let people not panic. He took a can of food and thought that it would never be superfluous to stock up on long-term storage products. The loudspeaker announced again that several people in City X had been infected with an unknown virus. Cases of flu had become more frequent in the city, and the media in City X would continue to keep them informed of what was happening. A conversation began between two women in the store. One of them said that she had heard that Old Man Lee had been in good health, but that he had retired a couple of days ago. The other asked if it was because of this respiratory disease. The woman agreed and added that he had not even lasted 2 days. She noted that there had been so many cases of this disease lately. Has the government still not figured out the cause? The other woman replied that times were far from peaceful. After a while, MC went down to the parking lot and began loading groceries into the back of the car. He thought that he had bought seeds, instant food, frozen food, meat, essentials, snacks, and canned goods. All that was left was to fill the car with gas. He needed to get back to Han as soon as possible, and he also needed to deal with the deer he had killed this morning. After a while, he drove off, when suddenly he received a phone call. The protagonist answered the call, and a female voice answered the phone, asking what about her offer. He replied that he could find her a job so that she could open her eyes when talking to others. But he would not send Han to the shelter. The girl screamed into the phone that he was not related to her by blood. He should not mention this marriage to her if he wanted to bring a burden with him. The MC tensely explained that this was his younger sister, an important member of the family. She asked discontentedly why she should raise a child who was nobody to her. She had enough of him already. If he did not take her seriously, they would not get married. And anyway, they were breaking up. The protagonist calmly agreed and hung up when suddenly a goat appeared on the road and he hit it. The MC excitedly asked, "Was it a dog?" "No, it was a goat, I think." The animal, covered in blood, calmly got up and slowly disappeared into the bushes. The protagonist asked in confusion. His head was smashed and he was still alive? After the goat disappeared into the bushes, he thought, it's good that it left. There's no need to call the police. After a while, he got home and started unloading boxes from the back of the truck. Suddenly, Lee Han, the protagonist's sister, ran up and joyfully shouted that he was back. Wow, he bought so much stuff. She can help carry it. MC gave her the package and told her to take it. They started walking into the house, and the sister happily reported that she had done everything he told her to. She fed the cows, changed the water, and watered the garden. She's so tired today. She wants to eat the stew that he cooks so deliciously. The protagonist agreed and asked, how about some venison stew with carrots? The girl happily exclaimed at his offer. Suddenly, a dog named Bai started gnawing on the plants, but Han quickly ran up and hit him, shouting that he shouldn't rip up the plants. After a while, they passed a pen with cows. One of them was mutated, its eyes turned red. When they entered the house, a message came on the radio, saying that today was a significant day in this century, an eclipse would begin soon. Han noted that she had never seen a solar eclipse before. Will the sky be dark like at night? She sat down at the table and, taking a bite, said admiringly that it was delicious. Her brother hunts and cooks better and better. MC explained that the eclipse will not be like at night. It's just that the sun will get darker. To see this, you need to put on glasses. Suddenly, the radio started counting down. The sun abruptly covered something dark, the electricity went out, and a snowstorm began. The main character shouted in bewilderment. Why did a snowstorm suddenly begin in the summer? He'll go and lock up the cattle. He'll be back soon. Let the dog Bai look after Han, and the dog named Hey goes with him. After a while, he went outside and began to walk towards the pens through a terrible snowstorm. Suddenly, a powerful flash was heard in the sky and the sun turned into a black hole. The protagonist thought in horror that this was too strange. Plants, a snowstorm, the sun. Suddenly, the dog Hay began to bark furiously at the mutated cow that was standing behind the protagonist. MC turned around in fear and saw the mad animal running towards him. He deftly dodged, the dog Hay grabbed the cow and a squabble ensued between them. The protagonist thought in fear that his bow should be nearby. He abruptly ran to the stump on which the weapon lay, when suddenly the cow threw the dog away. The protagonist took aim with his bow and fired straight at the head of the enraged cow. Each arrow hit the target, but the animal did not slow down. MC screamed in fear that something was wrong. He needed to try again. A system window appeared, saying that the number of shells was 0. Then the cow flew at him at full speed, causing him to fly off. The dog Hay ran up to him and began to bark, pointing towards the house. The protagonist wondered what was wrong in that direction. If this cow suddenly mutated, then Han was also in danger. At this time, the dog Bai also went wild in the house and began to snarl at the girl. At the moment when it wanted to rush at her, the main character quickly arrived and kicked the dog. He picked up Han in his arms and shouted that he would take her to a safe place. Let her never come out of there. It is still very dangerous outside. The dog Bai is very dangerous now. Let her listen to him and under no circumstances go out. After a while, he brought her to the barn. Suddenly, the system window appeared again, which said that the number of shells is 0. Living organisms nearby, 4. He wondered in bewilderment that these were not hallucinations. What is this? MC took Han into the barn and shouted, no matter what happens, let her not go out and believe him. He closed the gate, when suddenly the dog Bai grabbed him in the back. Hay immediately attacked and a dog fight broke out between them. The main character started to run away and shouted for him to stop him. He will come as soon as he deals with this cow. After a while he grabbed an axe and stood by a tree. Suddenly the animal ran into him from behind, but he dodged in time and it hit the tree. MC swung an axe to chop the cow, but suddenly Bai grabbed him by the neck, and then the enraged cow pierced him with a horn. He thought that it continued to pierce. How noisy it was here. A system window appeared which said that the Doomsday survival game was in the process of being installed. The protagonist wondered, what is this sound? How noisy it is here. Let him at least finish off these two and not make noise. Let this insignificance move. At least let him let Han survive. Another system window appeared, which said that the Doomsday survival game was successfully installed. After a while, MC found himself underwater. System windows appeared, which said that the bonus ability of the first level of the shelter is the Eye of Truth. Rank, Guest House. To promote to the rank of Fortress you need points, 8 million. Suddenly a blinding flash appeared and he woke up on the ground covered in blood. The protagonist jumped up in confusion and thought, is he still alive? Didn't that cow kill him? The clothes in that place are torn, and there are traces of blood, but the wound has disappeared. What's going on here? Where did the cow and Bai go? Suddenly, a glitch occurred in his eyes for a short time. The protagonist looked to the side and saw a chopped-up cow, and somewhere in the distance, the body of a dog. He wondered what happened after he lost consciousness. A person is not capable of such destructive power. Suddenly, he began to remember how at the last moment, he received the status of a player and destroyed his opponents with incredible force. After that, a blinding flash happened again, and he screamed. MC thought, yes, he died, but the wound healed and this power is not his. Probably, it's all because of this so-called system, but it really does look like a game. A system window appeared, which said that the game installation was completed successfully. Shelter binding successful, store activated, newbie reward issued, let him check it himself please. The protagonist was puzzled, thinking that it was the sound of the system again. According to the logic of computer games, there would be a task now? Suddenly, information literally poured into his brain, like a flash of lightning. 2 more system windows appeared, saying that the first period of destruction had begun. There were 30 days left until the next period of destruction. The world will be destroyed by natural disasters. The shelter is the only fortress that can be relied on. The player's tasks are to survive the Doomsday game, and also to make his shelter the most reliable citadel. He thought that this was just the beginning. The first wave poisoned the land, due to which people survived. What will be the second wave? MC approached Bai's body and thought that he was unconscious. According to the system, the dog and the cow mutated due to the fact that they accidentally ate plants poisoned after the radiation. The mutation leads to physical strengthening and abnormal ferocity. He needs to be tied up and locked up so that no one gets hurt. And also need to check on Han. The protagonist tied up the dog and throwing it on his back, went to the barn. After a while, he went inside and started looking for his sister. Having gone down to the basement, MC tried to turn on the light and thought that there was no signal, so there was no connection either. But with diesel generators, this is not such a problem. Where is she? It is strange that there is no sound. Suddenly he noticed the girl's legs sticking out and ran to her in fear. The protagonist grabbed her in his arms and excitedly shouted, "What happened to her?" A system window appeared, which said that her state is sleep. Suddenly, the girl woke up and sleepily called out to him. He excitedly asked why she did not spread out the mattress. "You can't sleep right on the floor." Han explained that she was waiting for him downstairs, and then some white light flashed, and she does not remember anything else. "Is he okay?" MC answered that everything is fine, it's over. She asked what happened to the dog Bai. He explained that he was hurt, so they can't see each other for now. Let her sleep here a little longer, and he needs to go run errands. He laid out a pillow and a blanket for her and went outside. Going outside, the protagonist thought that there were no more mutated cattle outside. He needed to figure out how this system differs from computer games. He began to figure out the system window and took the beginner's reward. After that, he thought, what is all this? So, he hoped to get some special weapon or abilities. It seems he won't be able to become unbalanced right away. Suddenly he noticed a button with a question mark and clicked on it. The main character thought that, apparently, the currency in the system is points. He opened a store for points and thought that these seeds can germinate even in poisoned soil. He had just checked the supplies at home. Anything that had direct contact with the ground was contaminated to one degree or another. He thinks that it will take some time for the network to be restored. The situation in the outside world is clearly not cheerful. The sources of infection need to be destroyed. After a while, he went outside, lit a fire and began to look at the black sun. After that, he entered the armory and taking the pistol, left the radio for Han and left the barn. After some time, MC got into the car and hit the road. Mutated animals began to chase him, trying to catch up with the car. The protagonist thought that the sooner he dealt with them, the better. Suddenly, a military car appeared behind him and the chase began. The car made a police turn and blocked the passage of the protagonist. A man climbed out onto the roof of the military car, sat down at the machine gun, and aimed at him. The protagonist excitedly stopped traffic and raised his hands. The soldier reported over the radio that the alarm on the road was eliminated. MC looked at his shoulder straps and thought that these were soldiers from a neighboring base. The city was probably in complete chaos. He doesn't know how Lin is doing. The soldier shouted that it's very dangerous outside now. Don't hang around here. MC explained that he ran out of supplies, so he went out. Let him tell him what the situation is in the city now. The soldier was informed on the radio that Zone B was attacked by a group of mutated cats. They were asking for reinforcements. He climbed back into the car and shouted that if he needed supplies, he should go to the government supply point. The city was also unsafe. He should return home quickly. The protagonist agreed, and after a while set off on his way. Planes and helicopters began to fly in the sky. He thought that even military planes were involved. Apparently, the number of mutated animals is quite large. Although they parted with Lin in such a situation, he cannot stay on the sidelines. On the way, he needs to stop by to see how she is doing. They are not strangers after all. After a while, MC arrived in a city that was in real chaos. He thought that now on the streets besides police cars, there were probably only ambulances left. Right not far from him, doctors were trying to provide first aid to the victim. One of them shouted that the patient had lost a lot of blood. He was going into shock. Another case of lung disease caused by food poisoning. Quickly, let them prepare a dose of adrenaline. Another doctor replied, no, there are too many sick people. There are almost no cardiotonic medications left. In another place, a man was seriously injured. His wife, with tears in her eyes, shouted that he should not fall asleep. They were going to the hospital now. He, coughing up blood, replied that there were no more places there. He could not even get through to the ambulance. MC, watching everything that was happening, thought that it seemed that the current medical system was also paralyzed and in principle was not able to cope with the consequences of plant irradiation. He sighed heavily and wondered if he would be able to protect Han in this game. After a while, near the supply point, a policeman shouted through a loudspeaker, there is a government supply point for essential goods here. They ask you to maintain order. Please let them line up and remain calm. There is enough food for everyone. With an ID card, anyone can buy 2.5 kilograms of rice, 2.5 kilograms of flour, and 500 grams of vegetables. Civilians were dissatisfied because some people were cutting in line. The protagonist, sitting in the car, watched in front of him as people fought over a place in line and over food. He drove a little further and thought that Lin's house was right on the left turn. Suddenly, right before the turn, an unknown man drove out and blocked his way. He approached the protagonist's car with a bag, knocked on the door and asked if he was coming from the supply point. He probably wanted to buy food, but it didn't work out, right? The man opened the bag and pointed out that there were watermelons, zucchini, pumpkins, tomatoes, rice. Whatever he wants, he has it all. MC mockingly said that if he could eat any of it in front of him, he would buy it all. The man excitedly asked if he didn't believe him, if he hadn't felt sorry for him that he couldn't buy anything, would he have offered him his own vegetables? The protagonist ordered him to get out of the way with a serious face. The man shouted in irritation at how he was talking to him. The protagonist silently took out his gun and aimed it at him. He shouted in fear that they needed to talk. He was an obedient citizen. MC pointed out that if he shot a vile merchant like him, no one would say a word to him. So let him get lost. The man excitedly picked up his bag, got into his car, and drove away. After a while, the protagonist arrived at his destination and entered the building. He walked up to the door, knocked on the door and shouted her name. Hearing no answer, he assumed she was not home, looked under the rug, took out the key, and opened the door. Entering inside, the main character saw the mess and thought, "She is such a clean person." He glanced around the room and wondered if there were contaminated fruits and medicine. MC took the pill package and wondered if it was Tianren's antibiotic. The reputation of this pharmaceutical company was simply disgusting. How could she buy this? There was no trace of blood in the room. She didn't eat poisoned food by mistake, did she? Such a mess is not typical for her. There were no signs of forced entry on the lock. It was all too suspicious. But where could she go in the middle of all this chaos? After a while, the protagonist returned home. System windows appeared, which said that it was a suburb, an abandoned estate. Rank, guest house. Bonus skill of the first level shelter, Eye of Truth. All objects and living beings will be displayed to the owner in digital form. Level 1 Shelter Authority, Remote Shelter Management. Even if the player has left the shelter, he can always check the status of all products from the store in real time, and he can also manage them. Area, 30 mu, can be used for fishing and livestock, planting and construction. Income and expense status, losses. MC, working in the garden, thought that when he gets enough points, he will be able to improve the facilities on the farm. But this will not affect the level of protection from radiation. Suddenly Han happily called out to him and noted that those seeds had really sprouted. Let him see it quickly. The protagonist approached her, saw many sprouts, and thought that everything worked out. The radiation-resistant seeds completely matched the description from the system. This also ripened quickly. As long as they had points, they would definitely be able to survive in this world. Han said that all the seeds they had planted before had not sprouted. She had already thought that they would have nothing to eat. Her brother was the best. He was able to get even such seeds. MC agreed and asked if she remembered the rules he had told her about. The girl grinned and replied that he should not underestimate her. Rule 1. Do not eat anyone's food except what he gives her. Rule 2. Do not run outside the farm without his permission. And Rule 3. Hide from animals that are acting strangely. Han tried to remember the last rule and began to hesitate. The protagonist repeated that the fourth rule is to keep an eye on Hay so that he doesn't eat anything. After a while, a system window appeared, notifying him that the radiation-resistant products have ripened and that he should pick them as soon as possible. MC came to the farm and, seeing how the vegetables had grown, thought that this was not bad. The system window said that radiation-resistant tomatoes had grown. It is rich in nutrients. Long-term use can improve physical fitness. The shelf life is 30 days. He picked one tomato and thought that it also improves physical fitness. He needs to taste it. The protagonist bit into the tomato and felt the heat spread throughout his body, and the fatigue from working for the past few days disappeared. He thought that in a world where there is an acute shortage of food, he not only has food, but he also gets a bonus to his characteristics. This forces him to fully engage in the farm. In this system, expanding powers, buying food, increasing the level of the shelter, everything depends on points. The opening of different functions is valued by different points. The only source of these points is the exchange system. The exchange system mainly uses agricultural products, livestock products, and minerals. In addition, the price differs depending on the level. Anti-radiation products, level 1, anti-radiation products, 1 kilogram, 1 point. Level 2 products, weighing 1 kilogram, 100 points. Level 3 divine enhancement products, weighing 1 kilogram, 1000 points. Level 4 super enhancing products, weighing 1 kilogram, 100,000 points. No need to worry about supplies being delivery. If there are enough points, then in a short time, you can turn the manor into the best military base. You can't wait. And this is just an anti-radiation product. There are also products of the other 3 levels. The effect of them can be even more amazing. Great, now he will look at the fruits of the healing level. MC went to inspect another bed and saw a sluggishly growing carrot. He thought that this is his 10% ripening coefficient. A system window appeared, which said that this is a healing carrot. The degree of maturity is 100%. Effect: removes the negative effects of any poisoning and diseases, including irreversible damage caused by effects. Shelf life is unlimited. The protagonist happily thought that this is cool. With this, you cannot worry about diseases. After some time, he thought that he sold 70% of the harvest, exchanging it for points, and left the rest in the backpack for spare parts. A system window appeared, which said whether he is sure that he wants to exchange 200 kilograms of anti-radiation products. MC confirmed his choice and more system windows appeared which said that 2,000 points were received. 3 healing products were added to the inventory. 30 anti-radiation products have been added to the inventory. They congratulate the player on successfully completing the first exchange. The achievement Master of Exchange has been received. The reward has been received. A robot for intellectual work, for agriculture. The protagonist wondered in surprise, is there even a reward for the first exchange? Apparently, you can get a lot of good things for achievements. What a tiny robot, it feels like it is absolutely useless. After these thoughts, the robot immediately changed its expression and jumped off his hand. MC wondered why it seemed to him that he was staring at him. How does he know what he is thinking? Is his consciousness really connected to the system? Can a robot received from the system directly receive instructions from his head? And this is quite convenient, you just need to be careful with your words. Even an agricultural robot is so cool. If you earn points in exchange for a combat robot, you cannot worry about Han's safety. This is now quite possible. After a while, he cooked dinner and called his sister to the table, saying that they were having chicken for dinner today. The girl ran into the kitchen with the dog at lightning speed. The protagonist noted that they would celebrate the fact that the seeds had sprouted. She wondered if he hadn't said that they should put some food aside for later. The MC replied that they could grow more, but there was still some left from this harvest. But if she showed their food to anyone, he would punish her and not feed her for 3 days. Han happily exclaimed that she wouldn't tell anyone. The protagonist said, let her eat it. She must have gotten tired of noodles over the past 2 days. The first piece of hay for protecting him and the girl. The sister hugged the dog and noted that he was the coolest. But what about Bai? How is he? The MC explained that she shouldn't worry. He was just badly injured, so he couldn't come out to see her yet. When he recovers, he will definitely come play with her. So let her not go to the attic under any circumstances, so as not to disturb his rest. Did she understand? Han agreed, and they continued to eat. The protagonist remembered how he went up to the enraged Bai. Suddenly, a system window appeared, notifying that someone was trying to break into the shelter. He opened access to surveillance and system windows appeared, which said that a scan of the appearance was in progress. This is a man. 42 years old, unarmed, threat level 3. MC recognized the man as his uncle and wondered what he was doing here. After a while, he went outside and asked if something had happened. Nan ran to the gate and excitedly said that he wanted to ask him for something. Does he have extra food on the farm? He really had no choice. His house was robbed and all the food was stolen. Food is too expensive in the city, so could he share some food with him? The protagonist explained that he did not have any supplies either. Everything he grew was contaminated. Nan excitedly added that he had already visited many relatives. No one had any extra food to lend him. He was such an irresponsible person. MC noted that he could give him some rations, but only a small one. This was in gratitude for his care in the past. Uncle immediately smiled with happiness and began to thank him. After a while, the protagonist brought a small bag and said that the only thing he could share was instant noodles. First, he could calm down, and then think about what to do next. He wished him luck. Nan took the bag, thanked him, and replied that he should wish them luck. When he left, MC thought that this food would be enough for him to last only 3 to 5 days. Although he had enough food, in this collapsed world, someone else's soul is a darkness. He needs to learn to hide his feelings. He no longer needs ordinary vegetables from the freezer either. At night, you will have to quietly give it to him. After some time, the protagonist took his sister with him, and they went to their uncle. Han sadly said that she wanted to watch cartoons at home. The protagonist explained that there were still mutated animals in the vicinity of the farm. He was uneasy about leaving her home alone. She asked where they were going then. He replied that they were going to Nan, who often came to help them at the farm before. They were bringing him some food. Han noticed that she remembered. This was that hardworking grandpa. He also had a brother at home who often gave her candy. MC asked, didn't he tell her that you can eat no more than 1 candy a day? The girl immediately shouted excitedly that he did not secretly give her candy. She was wrong. After some time, they arrived in the suburbs and the protagonist thought that it was quiet here. Even the dogs did not bark. He was afraid that all the cattle had mutated and people got rid of them. They drove up to the house and started unloading all the bags. Han, smiling and holding a small package, said that these were snacks from her personally. Suddenly, Nan's loud cry was heard, like, what's wrong with his son? Let him not scare him. Didn't he feel better? Why did it start again? MC looked out the window and wondered what was wrong with him. The girl whispered in fear, like, Uncle's son spat out so much blood. Is he dying? The protagonist answered in a whisper, no, everything is fine. Let her not look. He thought that his symptoms were the same as those of people who ate irradiated vegetables. Did that food really run out that quickly? Wait, isn't this a great test subject? Will he be able to survive his carrots? Now they will see the effect. Nan, with tears in his eyes, put his son on the bed and shouted that these quack doctors were saying that there were no beds in the hospital, and they were also saying that it was incurable, even if there were beds. What should he do then? Suddenly, MC threw a package of food out the window and broke it. Uncle shouted angrily, "What kind of idiot threw this? Let him come here." Tian called out to him, pointed at the package and told him to look inside. Nan excitedly agreed, and seeing a lot of vegetables, exclaimed that it was fresh food. He noticed another small package and wondered, "Is that paper? 1 carrot inside?" It seemed to be written on the paper, "If he doesn't want his son to die, then let him give him this." Uncle exclaimed in bewilderment, "Is he sick or something? They can't cure him in the hospital and he's giving him some carrots? Even with fresh vegetables, what difference does it make? His poor son, he's a useless father." Tian lightly took his hand and said that he wants to try. If he just lies like this, he'll die, and he wants to live. Nan wiped away his tears and shouted that it was true. They won't cure him in the hospital anyway. He can't watch him die in his arms. He took the carrot, brought it to his mouth and shouted for him to bite quickly. Tian took a bite, and a moment later began to spit out a large amount of blood. Soon after, he felt much better. Nan began to joyfully rejoice that his son had recovered. MC, standing on the street, heard all this and smiled, like suddenly one of the lights came on and he thought that the power had been restored. So there should be a signal too. He took out his phone and tried to call Lin. After a few beeps, the operator said that the called party was temporarily unavailable. Let him please call back later. At that moment, her phone rang, but she was unconscious. The 2 men from Tianren Company who kidnapped her were sitting in the front seats of the car. One of them asked what was so noisy, whose phone was ringing. He took out his phone and noted with a smile that there was a connection. The other replied that it was the girl's in the back. Let him turn off her phone. The man asked how much food they would be able to get after its delivery. The other replied that it would definitely last for several months. He laughed and happily noted that he was a real man. What did he think they needed all these people for? The man replied, "Who cares? He was paid, so let him do his job silently." Sometime later, in the protagonist's car, Han admiringly noted that her brother is so cool. She saw Tian spit out so much blood, but after eating a carrot, he immediately recovered. He was gray, and then suddenly turned blue. It's so cool. The girl began to fantasize about how she would fight off the bandits. MC thought with a smile that she loved cartoons too much, because she behaved like a character from there. Suddenly, a mutated monkey clung to their roof. The protagonist excitedly shouted to let her hold on tight. He picked up speed, turned off the road, braked sharply, and when the monkey flew off the roof, again added gas to run it over, and then he took out a gun and made a control shot. The protagonist got out of the car, and after examining the animal's corpse, noticed an incomprehensible number on the carcass. He wondered where this came from on the monkey's body. There are no nurseries or zoos in the area. There is only a pharmaceutical company Tianren nearby. After some time, they returned home. Standing on the porch, MC said that his sister should go and watch cartoons, and he still had things to do. He went up to the attic to buy, walked over to the cage, put on his gloves, and took out the healing carrot. The protagonist opened the dog's mouth, fed it the carrot, and thought that it could even cure the poisoning from irradiated vegetables. He could probably return to his former self. Even after such food, the dog was not cured. At this time, Han, watching TV, was frightened by the thunderstorm and thought that she was a little scared. Why hasn't her brother returned yet? She must find him. The girl ran to the attic and seeing MC's back, decided to scare him. She suddenly pounced on him, but then saw the corpse of Bai the dog. She clung to her brother in horror and asked with tears, "Don't they have a healing carrot? Quickly, let him give it to the dog." The protagonist explained that carrots cannot save mutated organisms. Han is hysterical, screamed, saying that she didn't want Bai to die. After a while, they made a grave for the dog under a tree. The girl took her brother's hand with a dejected look. MC noted that it was getting cold already. They should go back. Upon arriving home, the protagonist called her to eat, because this was her favorite food. Seeing that Han continued watching TV with a dejected look and without interest, he sighed heavily. The protagonist gave the dog a command to stay here with her. After a while, a notification came, saying that the anti-radiation crops were ripe. Please let him harvest as soon as possible. MC came to the farm, harvested the crop and received 500 kilograms of anti-radiation crop, as well as 10 kilograms of healing crop. He exchanged products for points and upgraded the dilapidated greenhouse to level 2, an ordinary greenhouse. Suddenly, a warning appeared that his shelter protection level was 3. The shelter can only protect against the invasion of small wild animals. The risk level is extremely high. It is recommended to create a defense system as soon as possible. The protagonist thought, well, that's true. What needs to be done now is to increase the farm's security level. With the level of crops he's currently growing, he can't earn many points. but this issue can be put off for now. He improved the fence reinforcement to level 2 for 1,000 points, made a live wire for 500 points, and got a mobile radar. After that, MC thought that there weren't enough points, he needed to get a robot protector for Han. Suddenly, he noticed a robot for 3,500 points and wondered what he was missing. If he sold the food supplies from the warehouse, it should be enough. If he didn't have any points, he just needed to earn more. But for now he'd take this. The protagonist bought a level 1 hummingbird robot. According to its characteristics, it has the following speed: 5, attack power 3, defense 1. Attack method, shot. He also bought a level 2 hound robot. According to its characteristics, it has the following speed: 4, attack power 6, defense 5. Attack method, erosion, shot, bite. MC ordered the hummingbird to knock down the falling leaves, and the robot followed the order in an instant. He thought about the air patrol and sniper shot available. Now he will look at the power of the ground attack. Let the hound model explode the stone. The robot aimed, charged the attack, and fired a powerful shot, crushing the stone into small pieces. The protagonist was surprised to think that he was calm now. After a while, he returned home and showed his sister the robot dog. The protagonist said with a smile, let him protect her from now on. We need to choose a name for him. How about Bai? Han tearfully agreed loudly. At this time, at Tianwen Pharmaceutical Company, an employee reported to the director that the out-of-control samples had been eliminated. Only the indicators of sample number 7 were steadily increasing. Now it can easily crush or bite through a 5mm thick plate. Liang Tianyu, president of Tianwen Pharmaceutical Company, asked, what about the other question? The employee said that the vice president, Zhen Xiao, was very unhappy that they had not donated the medical equipment. If she found out and reported it to the head office, they would have problems. The company president sat down at his desk and explained with a smile that she was just a silly girl with few connections. Besides, everything was kept secret. Even if she wanted to check, she needed to know where to start. Okay, let Chen Nan keep an eye on her. Let them not let her ruin his plans. Now he could go. After the employee left, Tianyu remarked with a sly smile that he might have a huge fortune waiting for him. At this time, Xiao, who was in the pharmaceutical company building, nervously asked, where is the company president? The secretary excitedly chased after her and tried to explain that he was not there now. She was putting them in a difficult position. She purposefully walked into the president's office and shouted, what is he thinking about? The medical system of the entire southern city is paralyzed. As a representative of the medical field, he must now do everything he can to cooperate with hospitals and donate equipment and medicines to them, and not engage in some kind of animal experiments. Tianyu calmly pointed out that this is the office of the company president. It's not quite appropriate for her to barge in here like that, don't you think? Besides, he is an entrepreneur. The goal of an entrepreneur is to benefit from any situation. He does not think that modern medicine can do anything under the current circumstances. She's also a shareholder of the company and receives dividends. Let her just imagine, if they can come up with a way to solve the problem, what kind of reward will they get? Xiao immediately calmed down and asked with a smile, does that mean he has made progress in his research? Even the Yanhuang federal government could not provide information about effective medicine. In that case, she should take a walk around the lab. Tianyu, without showing any excitement, asked tensely, was it possible to do it that quickly? If she cooperated more and provided workers for this project, the progress would be much faster. Xiao warned that she would go to the lab later to see where they were. She could only cooperate after checking on the progress, right? The president replied that she was always welcome. He would send someone to brief her. The vice president left the office and was met in the corridor by an assistant. He said that the technical team reported that she had been in the office for too short a time, not enough time to conduct a full scan. But the entrance to the secret lab was most likely not in the office. Xiao chuckled and said that the president was an old fox. Did they recruit those captured experimenters? He reported that no, they were blindfolded every time they entered, but they were given a pass. The man took out a plastic pass and handed it to her. The vice president took the item and wondered if not here, then where else could she be? If the most dangerous place should be the safest, really. After a while, Tutsu, the manager, led her into the lab and mentioned that he would accompany her today and tell her about the research. Xiao agreed and said that they would first look at the progress of the test subjects. He led her to a huge test tube and explained that this was number 7, the only one of the test subjects who had not gone mad. His strength had increased tenfold. Although he would not become as bloodthirsty and insane as the failed samples, he was still unstable and somewhat aggressive. Suddenly, another worker ran up to him and whispered some information in a frightened voice. Tsu asked in fear how this could happen. He replied that they really had no choice. Please let him come and take a look quickly. The manager explained excitedly that he was very sorry, but there was an emergency, so he would not be able to accompany her any further. He would ask his colleague to replace him. The vice president replied that it was okay, it was just a work task. She would look around for a while and then leave. Su objected, saying that this was against the rules. Xiao smiled and noted that this area was completely under video surveillance. What else were they worried about? Let him go quickly, it was urgent. The manager started to leave, shouting after her that they would continuously monitor her safety. After they left, the girl connected the connection on the earpiece and ordered them to begin. At this time, the hacker covered the surveillance system and reported that everything was ready. Xiao ordered him to look for a hidden entrance. He began to explain that in the corner on the northeast side, there was a cavity in the wall. It might be necessary to press on it. She had another 30 minutes. Xiao followed his instructions and got into the secret room of the laboratory. The hacker asked what was there. She answered that everything was worse than she expected. He asked if he needed to request support from the head office. The vice president stopped him and looked at the huge flask with Zhonglin, the ex-girlfriend of the protagonist. Her legs shook and she said that the president of this company is a bastard. After a while, MC received notifications that his irradiation corn was ripe. Han came to his aid and simply stood up in admiration. He called out to her and said that she should help him quickly. The faster they finished, the faster they could go eat. The girl began to help harvest the crop, and taking an ear of corn, exclaimed that she wanted to fry it. The protagonist asked with a smile, did she get hungry so quickly? She answered exhaustedly that she was so hungry that she did not have the strength to harvest corn. The protagonist asked her to bring dry firewood and noted that he would fry corn in oil for her. After a while, they started cooking together, and Han asked what to do if she continued to eat so much and became a fat pig. MC thought about it, like, really, she was eating even more than him lately. He replied that these were special plants that improve their physical fitness. When the body grows, it requires more and more nutrients. Since she is growing, she will not get fat if she eats a little more. Han calmed down and began to eat corn. The protagonist looked at her stats and thought that they had been eating anti-radiation vegetables for several days, and their stats had noticeably increased. If she continues like this, she will not become like a bodybuilder, right? Why is he even making things up? The girl exclaimed with admiration that fried corn was very tasty. MC grinned and replied that he would fry her another one with spices. He thought that with such a shelter, even if her appetite continued to grow, he would simply grow more food. Suddenly, a system notification appeared that a visitor had come to visit them. The protagonist was surprised to think, who was visiting him at such a time? He looked at the CCTV cameras and wondered, was it Tian? Did he bring the food he gave them? After a while, MC came to the gate and asked what was going on. He smiled and noted that 2 days ago he gave them instant noodles. Father said that he needed to thank him. As soon as they had food, he brought it to him. The protagonist smiled and thought, this is the food he gave them. But that means he helped them for a reason. He took the bag and asked where he got all this food. Tian excitedly replied that, to be honest, they found it in the yard of their house. Maybe some relative or just a kind person left it for them. In general, in addition to gratitude, he wants to ask for a favor. He heard that a new supply point had opened in the suburbs of Nancheng, and there were still a lot of supplies there. He wanted to borrow his car to go shopping. MC smiled and gave him the go-ahead to take the car. Tian excitedly added that he still hadn't gotten his driving license, and that supply point was in the middle of nowhere. It was a long way there. He wouldn't keep him too long, please. The protagonist thought that he needed a car with a driver. He had planned to go to the supply point again a couple of days ago to scout out the situation, but things at the farm had delayed him. He had warned him just in time to give him a ride. There were mechanical guards at home, so he was also calm about Han. With Bai's strength, there was no need to worry even if a group of enemies got through. The protagonist agreed to his request and added that they were old acquaintances after all. But he needed to be back before noon to feed his sister. Tian happily exclaimed, okay. MC asked him to wait there because he needed to bring the car. After a while, he came up to the car and told the girl that she should be good and not go anywhere. Let her not open the door for anyone. He will be back soon. Han agreed and happily added that he should not worry. Dabai is very strong. The protagonist asked when he became Dabai. She explained that it was an improved version. She had already tried it. It split a huge rock like a nut. The protagonist replied that she should call the robot only if she really needed it, otherwise it could be dangerous. The girl sadly said that you can't just blow up rocks. MC smiled and stroked her head and noted that he and Tian would bring her something tasty. Han asked if he was here too. She wanted to say hello to him. The protagonist grabbed her cheek and asked where she was going. You can't go with Bai and show him to strangers. Han shouted discontentedly that she knew. She was already 6 years old. She was not a little child. But at home she doesn't even have anyone to talk to except him. The protagonist gives her permission, puts her in the front seat, and drives up to the gate. Tian, seeing a little girl in the front seat, exclaims in bewilderment. MC grabs her head and tells her to get out and let him sit down. The sooner he leaves, the sooner he'll be back and cook her something to eat. Han gets out of the car and grumbles, saying she hasn't finished yet. So what? She'll go watch cartoons. After a while, already on the road, the protagonist starts thinking that his sister is a devil. He knew she couldn't shut her mouth. Tian asks if it's okay to leave Han alone at home. There's chaos all around now. What if some scoundrel breaks into the farm? MC replies that he's an ordinary farmer. He has no money or food. Who would want to break into their house? He asks if he left her anything to protect herself with. The protagonist explained that she was only 7 years old. She would not be able to take advantage of this. He thought that now he would have to look for a place safer than the farm. The protagonist added that he had installed electricity to the farm gate, so no one would be able to enter. So there was no need to worry. Tian chuckled and said that he was calm then. Suddenly, he abruptly took out his phone and began to write something. The protagonist looked at him suspiciously, but he tried to justify himself, saying that he was afraid that he might not have enough money, so he asked a friend. MC silently began to suspect something. At this time at home, Han, sitting in front of the TV, shouted, "Rainbow Squad, attack!" The yellow lemon turned golden. That's right, Tian's brother can change color too. Is he also a member of the Rainbow Squad? The last time he and the protagonist saw him, he was green. And this time, he turned red. How cool. At this time, the protagonist handed him a wad of money and said, "Let him take it." He didn't have much money either, but let him take it. Tian excitedly began to refuse, saying that he had already helped them so much. How could he take his money too? MC pressed his hand with the money to his chest and confidently said, "Let him take it." Enough talking, he needed to watch the road. He excitedly replied that he would definitely repay him for his help. After some time, the navigator transmitted that in 300 meters, he should turn right. There are 200 meters left until the crossroads. In 100 meters, let him turn right. Suddenly, Tian grabbed the steering wheel in fear and said with a smile that it seemed like the road on the right was blocked. They'd better go around on the left. The protagonist removed his hand and replied that he often drove on this road and it was the main road in the village. Only a major natural disaster could block this place. How did he know about this? Tian fearfully made an excuse that a friend told him. The MC asked with a serious face, "Which friend?" "Let him call him now." He asked excitedly, "Why is he asking this? He won't hurt him. They need to turn right now, otherwise they will be late." Let him believe him this time. The protagonist silently turned left. At this time, Chen Nan, an agent of a pharmaceutical company who was watching the car through radar, saw the car turn left and shouted furiously, saying that he knew something would happen. One of his assistants exclaimed that this bastard dared to deceive them. Another asked, "What are they going to do now?" He irritably replied, saying that it's good that he prepared for this. Let them remember where the target went. They must stop them. President Tianyu said that they were needed alive. Let them pin him down, block him from the front and back with the second group. They will see if they can fly away from them. At this time, in the car, MC tensely asked what was going on. Tian, terrified, began to apologize and explained that he had betrayed him. He had no choice. They captured his father. The protagonist shouted excitedly, "Let him calm down first. Who are they and what do they want?" He hysterically replied that they were the people from Tianrun. They found out that he had a cure for the infection and forced him to lure it out of the farm. While he was gone, they would capture Han to blackmail him. MC was completely horrified and shouted that she was only 6 years old. Okay, but they are kidnapping a 6-year-old child. Tian, in tears, replied that he did not know that they would threaten him with his father's life. He had no choice. Suddenly, another car appeared behind them and the chase began. He screamed in fear that they had caught up with them. The protagonist, with incredible rage, ordered him to shut up. So that's why he was asking him for all this information earlier. All in order to find out the situation on the farm for them. And he took out his phone to give them this information. Tian, horrified, said that he was guilty before him. Let him just give them the medicine. There are too many of them. They can't escape. MC furiously noted that he was very disappointed. He didn't want to be cruel, but they climbed up to Han. The man began to cry, saying that he regretted it back when they took his father, but he had no way back. They would soon catch up with them. He begs him to give them the medicine. The protagonist menacingly said that he would deal with him later. But they should blame themselves. Let them not even dream of leaving the farm alive. The protagonist's body became electrified, and from the strong grip, the steering wheel of the car began to disintegrate into small pieces. Not long before this, Nan cried out joyfully, "My son, he has finally come to his senses." How he had scared him. He replied that he was alive, and he sat down next to his son on the sofa, and putting his hand on his shoulder, said, "Stupid child, why did you eat God knows what?" He replied that he was so hungry that he could not stand it any longer. In the basement he had found an apple. It did not look infected. His father said how careless he was. How could one eat food from the basement? It was lying on the ground. He added that they had eaten only porridge for several days, so he decided to take a risk, otherwise he would have died of hunger anyway. Nan hit him on the back and told him not to talk nonsense. He had borrowed food. In addition, they had been given other food, including a magic medicine which had saved him. It must have been a divine blessing. He had suffered so much that the gods had decided to save him. There are so many corpses on the street from eating contaminated vegetables, and he survived. Afterwards, they should go and worship their ancestors. They should thank them properly. Tian lowered his gaze and thought, if there was a god in the world, he would not allow such a disaster to happen. Then he looked at the bag of food near the door and thought that it was left by some person who did not want to reveal his identity. After that, his father asked, isn't he hungry? He thought, this person can share so much food. Nan added, they have food now. He will go and cook something for him. Tian looked inside the bag and thought, their family is doomed to starvation and can only provide themselves with the basic things to survive. His father said that he needs to eat well to recover. He laughed in his mind and thought, how unfair. After that, he stood up from his seat and thought, right. He walked out the door and his father excitedly asked where he was going. He replied that he would be back soon, and he shouted, he hasn't recovered yet. He needs to rest. He told him to leave, and Nan sighed desperately and said, what a child. Meow opened the door, holding a cigarette in his teeth, and shouted, come on, stop knocking. What the hell did he do here? Tian, breathing heavily, looked at him and said, brother Meow. He was surprised. What happened to him? His clothes were covered in blood, and he shouted that it was not so. His house was robbed. He wanted to look at his surveillance footage. He was surprised. What? And he pointed to the camera attached to the antennas above and said, over there, isn't that a 360-degree camera? He confirmed it and he asked to see it. It was he who beat him up like that. He should understand him, please. Meow told him to hurry up in that case. He was about to go to bed. After that, they went to the monitors, and Tian looked at the footage and thought that this camera was only capturing the area at the entrance to their alley. Then he noticed a car. After a while, he came home and Nan asked him where he went. He replied that he knew who saved him. He was surprised. Who? He replied that it was Tianran's boss. He just checked the footage from the cameras. The time his car appeared and the time he took the medicine matched. Nan happily shouted, what a good person he was. Not only did he share his food with them, but he also saved his life. After that, Tian said, father, he knows that the Tianran company is now looking for effective medicine for a generous reward. He was surprised. What? This bastard. What is he up to? He looked away and said that he just wanted to make their lives a little easier in this damn world. How long will this food last them? What will they do when this is over? Does he really hope to ask Tianran again? Nan slapped him in the face and shouted, is this his gratitude? How could he raise such a worthless brat? Let him just try to go there. He will break his legs. Is he listening? Tian wiped the trickle of blood from his mouth and said, he still doesn't understand what kind of situation they are in. If they want to survive, they can only rely on themselves. If they don't take care of themselves, no one will. In the present, the protagonist was driving the car and thought, no way, they are too close. There's no way to break away. Bad. He drove straight towards two cars that were blocking the road. After which he stopped abruptly, and another car blocked him from behind. After that, the protagonist got out of the car, grabbing Tian by the neck. Nan asked, Tianran, right? He introduced himself, and added that he reported to Tianran Pharmaceutical Company. They just wanted to meet him, that's all. He knows that he has a medicine that can cure the infected, so they want to discuss the possibility of cooperation with him. He slammed the door of his car and added, he supplies the medicine, they contribute and share the profits, a lot of money. MC smiled and asked what if he refuses? He replied that now there are only two paths in front of him. The first is that he voluntarily cooperates with them. They work harmoniously and happily earn money. The second is that they find a way to make him talk. With these words, his subordinates took out their knives, and the protagonist, looking at him, said that he himself found that medicine by accident. It was only one. He already used it on this guy. He thought, they don't need Tian anymore. If they had guns, they would have just finished him off. Then he apologized for wasting so much time. Nan picked up the phone and noticed that he seemed to have misunderstood something. He called on the phone and asked if they were already at the entrance to the farm. They should break in, grab that girl, and feed her the contaminated fruit. He thinks that since he installed electricity, the farm is now protected. They sent real experts there. He should think carefully before going against the Tianran company. He should just listen to him and cooperate. Before he could finish speaking, he felt threatened by the protagonist. He said that he hated being threatened the most. Nan wondered, how could such a farmer have such a frightening look? The protagonist said that he should be glad that he did not go to the farm himself. He could live a little longer here. He smiled awkwardly told him to stop bluffing and thought that he had so many people. What a great person to scare. He said that if he cooperated with them, he and the girl could survive. He didn't want to, right? He took out his knife and ordered him to take it. They can do whatever they want with him, as long as he can talk. Meanwhile, Han, anxiously clenching her fists, watched what was happening from the system window and shouted at how noisy it was. Are they going to let her watch cartoons in peace or not? What idiots. She wants to rip their heads off. The attackers continued to break down the wall using the excavator. At this moment, MC attacked the enemy, kneed him in the stomach, and threw him back. Chen Nan, perplexed, turned around and thought, what the hell? They found out that the weapons were only on the farm, so they lured him out of there. One of his subordinates was looking from a hill with binoculars at that moment and said that something was wrong with the farm. Han was blowing up rocks at that moment, and he added that the rock was blown up. The distance was too great, but it looked like an explosive weapon. They just have to lure him out of there and grab him. He thought that he didn't say that this farmer was so strong. The protagonist continued to punch left and right at this moment. He didn't expect the body-strengthening effect of the anti-radiation plants to be so terrifying. He had been eating it for the past few days, and his stats had increased slightly. Not only had his strength and speed increased, his skeleton had become stronger, and his reaction speed had increased significantly. In ancient times, one could take the path of the sword, the path of the fist, but he had taken the path of food. Well, for starters, he would increase the distance. After that, he jumped a few steps away from his opponents and thought, the stat check is over. Enough games. He took out a pistol from his inside pocket and pointed it at his opponents. Chen Nan, puzzled, thought that they had underestimated him. They had expected a hunting rifle at most, but this guy was able to take out a pistol. Then he smiled and said, boy, he had better not anger the one standing above him. He thought, if he could get close, the pistol would be useless. Then he added, if he touched him, he might not be able to handle the consequences. The protagonist answered, yes, it will still be useful, but the rest can be disposed of. With these words, he shot at the remaining opponents who were trying to run away. One of the bullets grazed Chen Nan's ear, and he thought that he needed to hide in the forest until he used up all the bullets. After that, he quickly ran forward and hid behind a rock, thinking that it had gone quiet. He had run out of bullets. Great! He was not prepared for the constant interference in the forest. He still had a chance. At this moment, the protagonist was already standing on the rock and looking at the system window. He opened his backpack and took a gun out of his inventory. Chen Nan, hearing strange sounds, turned around and, perplexed, shouted, and where did he get another one? MC aimed at him and then hit him. Meanwhile, the farm's defense was doing great. The system reported, according to the order of the junior mistress, the last intruder has been eliminated. What other instructions does the junior mistress have? She looked at the system window and thought, if her brother saw all this when he came back, he wouldn't think that she was a cruel child? He wouldn't stop loving her? Would he? She shook her head and thought she can't let her brother see this. She needed to clean up the entrance. A hummingbird flew over the bodies. Meanwhile, Chen Nan, pretty battered, was breathing heavily and said that he shouldn't have threatened him with the child. It was his fault. He was begging him. He had to stop torturing him. He would tell him everything. He only asked that he leave him. The protagonist clenched his fist and said that he would not leave him. But he could make his death quick. Or he could beat him half to death, heal him, and then continue again. In any case, he still had bullets and time left. He had to choose. He said, okay, he has to ask. The protagonist asked who was his boss. He replied, the president of Tianren, Liang Tianyu. The protagonist wiped the blood from his face and said, so he is that idiot who inflates the prices of medicines. No wonder he uses such methods. Was there anyone else involved besides Tianyu? He replied that this project is completely under the control of the president. He keeps all the information a secret. No one except him and Nan knows, not even other high-ranking officials in the company. He recently had a disagreement with the vice president, and he planned to use this project to raise his authority. He wanted to show off his worth to the head office, and then squeeze the vice president out of the Nancheng branch. MC thought in surprise. The head office? Tianrun in Nancheng is a monopoly in the industry, but they are just a subsidiary? Then he slapped him in the face again, and told him to think carefully. Did Tianyu report this project to the head office? He replied that it was not so. The vice president seemed to have support from the head office. He did not dare to tell them about the project. If the information leaked, the vice president would ruin all his plans. The protagonist said, and one last thing. He thought that since the information had not yet been revealed, it would not be difficult to solve the problem. He told him to take him to Tianyu. After a while, the president of the pharmaceutical company answered the phone and asked, did he complete the task? Chen Nan confirmed it. The target had already been captured, but he said that he would only cooperate after meeting him and the old man. He clicked his tongue in indignation and said, what a useless piece of trash. Even such a simple task he could not handle. He he had to do everything himself. In response, he apologized and added that he was too stubborn, they had lost several guys before. Then the boss said, okay, he should bring him to Warehouse 78, he will arrive soon, they will see what. But before he could finish speaking, he heard the beeps on the phone. He threw the phone on the table and shouted, damn it, and he still dares to hang up. As soon as he gets to the head office, he will immediately replace him, idiot. After a while, they drove to the right place. Tian, who had changed into a security suit, thanked the protagonist, and he said that he was just picking up Uncle Nan on the way, he should not flatter himself. He apologized again, and then they continued on their way. After a while, Tianyu held Nan's hair and said in surprise, has he arrived? Why did he come alone? Where is Chen Nan and that informant? Tian, leading the wounded and disguised Chen Nan forward, said that the informant had lost consciousness. They left him in the car. Chen Nan's brother had a stomach ache. He went to take a big one, so as not to keep him waiting, he sent him. In response, he said, what a lazy person, and then he laughed and shouted, he is still not willing to cooperate in this form. He should just give up already. The old man is here, he will let him go as soon as he tells everything. Tears appeared in Nan's eyes. Mentally, he begged him not to talk, he will never let them leave here alive. Not like that. Only moaning came out of his mouth. And the head of the pharmaceutical company shouted, stupid old man, stop moaning. He kicked him, knocking him to the ground, and told him to calm down. After that, he looked at Tian and asked, why is he standing there? He has to bring him here. At this moment, his subordinates continued to beat Nan, and he shouted, what useless idiots. But before he could be surprised, the protagonist's shoe ended up on his face, and shards of glass flew in all directions. The subordinates were perplexed, shouting, what? And MC pointed a gun at Tianyu's head, whom he was pinning to the ground, and said, this wall is so inconvenient to climb. The subordinates were alarmed and he shouted that they should come over. He turned around and shouted, how is he? Where is Chen Nan? Damn it, did he sell him out? He shouldn't touch him. The protagonist said, how did he become the head of Tianrun with such intelligence? All he can do is be ungrateful? His subordinate is over there. After that, he pointed at the injured subordinate, and he shouted in annoyance, he is an idiot. If he dares to touch him, that old man will die. The protagonist smiled and replied as he said, it is better to kill him than an ignorant man. Tian pleadingly shouted for him not to do it. Tianyu told his subordinates to save him and kill Nan. But the next second, the protagonist shot at his subordinates and said, is he stupid? Tian ran to his tied-up father. After that, MC fired and Nan and Tian fell at his feet, saying words of gratitude and apology. The uncle thanked him again for sorting out everything his son had done. He understands that apologies are useless, but he is grateful to him. The protagonist replied that he does not need to apologize because he is not guilty of anything in front of him. He answered, but it was he who could not stop his own son. There is his fault here too. The protagonist, turning to Tian, added that he can also stop apologizing if he just wants to feel better. He does not deserve forgiveness. The sooner he understands this, the better. He will not touch him just because there is no need. What to do next, they must. Before he could finish, Tian shouted, they do not know anything. For this he can be calm. But what will he do about it?